our purpose is to mine copper efficiently and sustainably, with the purpose of, providing the needs of a greener modern economy. And the link with our title sponsorship in the case of Formula E is signaling exactly that. I think the way mining is done today, in the sense, the engagement that we have with communities, the way that we protect the environment and mitigate the impacts that we have, talk of a different way of doing mining. And I think what's also very important is to really realize the value that copper and other minerals make, enabling the modern economy as we know it today.
So Formula E, you've announced this big time. The average typical Formula E car goes from 0 to 100 in 3 seconds, which is fast, but not as fast as Formula One. How exciting is it a proposition for the fans?
Oh, I think it's very exciting, and this is a signal of how the modern economy is changing, moving from internal combustion engines to electrical cars. It's a whole revolution, and the technology is still evolving.
In Formula E, there is a mandatory pit stop while the drivers change vehicles. Doesn't that show the limitations of electric cars?
Well, I think, as I say, the technology is still evolving. I think the main issue with electrical cars is still the level of autonomy. And today, however, the more advanced electrical vehicles have autonomies which exceed the 200, miles distance, and that is growing. And I think technology is changing extremely fast. So you'll be surprised, and I'll be surprised as well, how fast, the autonomy of these cars will start increasing. And I think what's important is that Formula E is also stretching the boundaries of the technology and pushing it, to its limits. So it's also helping, to further the advance in autonomous cars and electrical cars, which is what the future is all about.
Now, the rise of electrical cars is leading to, it's obviously spurring demand for copper, but also other metals, particularly lithium. London Metal Exchange talking about launching a lithium contract. Is the market itself capable of meeting this new demand?
I think it is. I mean, certainly for copper, it's a great story. The demand for copper is very much linked to what's happening in emerging economies, mostly China, in terms of infrastructure growth and in other sectors. But there's been a big revolution with the emergence of electrical transport and electrical mobility. And we have still yet to fully understand the numbers, but an electrical car carries around 4 or 5 times more copper than a conventional car. So the impact is quite significant. It's interesting to notice, for example, that today there are around 3 million electrical cars which are sold every year, and this is between hybrid and battery electrical cars. And that is expected by analysts to move to around 10 times that. So, a significant increase by 2030. So a few years from now, it'll be 30 million cars that will be sold. So the change that's happening is very significant. And I think that, breeds well for copper. And I think the industry, obviously, has to respond to that. And what we're seeing is that, prices are responding, to the increased demand.
And you're over in London, of course, for LME Week. This is where the great and the good of the global metals industry get together. What's the mood like right now?
I think the mood is certainly more positive than what it was a year or 2 ago. I think people are seeing that we're coming out of a downturn, which saw prices drop to around $2, per pound of copper. And we are certainly, above those numbers. So I think the mood is positive. But I think generally, people are being cautiously optimistic. The trend is favorable. I think longer term, the fundamentals are strong for copper, but there's bound to be volatility in the short term.